John gives you longer conversations with individuals than any other gospel.
The Gospel of John is the fourth book in the New Testament. It's the fourth gospel, and it shares some similarities with the first three, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It talks about the feeding of the 5,000, the resurrection of Jesus, Peter denying Jesus, but at the same time it's the most distinct from the other three.
Yeah, the Gospel of John is, for every reader of the four Gospels, clearly different. So you get from the beginning understanding the first three are very similar. You have the same stories in different form. And John, you enter in a way a different world. The style how Jesus talks in John is so different from how he talks in Matthew, Mark and Luke that you get the feeling, how is it possible that this is the same person? And this was, of course, not a detection only in the 19th or 20th century, but already in the 2nd century, church fathers discussed this problem and said, yeah, John is the most elaborated gospel. It's the most spiritual one.
Well, when you see it depicted in art, the Gospel of John, or like in stained glass windows or in frescoes, the Gospel of John is depicted as an eagle, because theologically he sort of soars above the others. He's just this really rich gospel.
Some people would say he's different because he majors on the Jerusalem part of the Gospels, whereas the other Gospels tend to stress Galilee, which is geographically to the north. He's much more interested in discourses. I mean, it's wonderfully structured. After the prologue, you have the 7 signs, the miracle at Cana, the healing of the man born blind, the raising of Lazarus. And then after the book of signs comes what's called the book of the Passion, which is all preparing for the work of Christ on the cross and his suffering and the days before he goes to Calvary.
John is also, may have the most commonly heard verse or quoted verse today, John 3:16. John 3:16 is the verse that says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." And so it's this really commonly quoted text.
Why is that one so big?
It's sort of viewed as the central understanding of Christian gospel, and it's just that who is Jesus? Well, he's the Son of God. He's the only one who's born of God truly, and it explains what his mission was. So it's just the most compact version of the gospel. So that's why it gained popularity. John is also distinct in that it features more of the disciples than just Peter is sort of the main guy in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. In John, instead, he talks about Philip and Andrew, and also Thomas, who is a key figure, because it's from this text that we get the phrase "a doubting Thomas." Towards the end of the gospel, Jesus has appeared to the disciples, but Thomas wasn't there, and so Thomas says, "I won't believe it unless I see Jesus myself." And so later, Jesus reappears and says, "Why do you doubt?"
The ending of John's Gospel is very interesting because it's a kind of breakfast beside the shore. Again, it's a meal. It links back to the sacramental, to the life of the church. And at this meal, Jesus gives the church into the hands of Peter. "Feed my sheep, feed my lambs." And then the figure of John, the beloved disciple, who may be the author of the Gospel, comes up, and Peter says, "What's going to happen to him?" And Jesus says, "It's not for you to know." And then there is this wonderful phrase that if all the things that Jesus did were to be written down, the world itself could not contain the books that could be written. So you get this sense that the story of Jesus could go on and on and on and on.